What's going on, everyone? So one of the big sort of storylines that I'm interested in and looking forward to as we get into training camp and then see the battles that develop in training camp is who should start between Jarred Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura. I think that that's going to be a real battle. I think that's going to be a real conversation. Also, who's going to have the bigger impact and who's going to get the more minutes and have the more significant role. There's a real argument for both of these guys. Now, both of these guys are obviously going to play. Both of these guys, I do think, have the potential to play some serious minutes. Jarred Vanderbilt, I do question how many minutes he plays, but we're going to dive into that individually here in a moment. But again, both guys are very likely to be big impact players for the Lakers. Rui Hachimura is the guy that got the more money. He was the sort of bigger acquisition for the Lakers, and the original reports were that he was going to start for the Lakers, and that was the direction in which they were going to go. Now, things have changed since then. Now, obviously, the Lakers went and got Christian Wood. That could be a big factor in whether Rui starts or not. Do they go with Christian Wood at the 5, especially since Anthony Davis doesn't really want to spend much time at the 5 spot? He wants to play more 4. That doesn't mean that Anthony Davis doesn't want to ever play the 5 or that he won't ever play the 5. He just doesn't want to play 90 minutes a game or 90% of the games at the 5 spot. So there is an argument that maybe they go with Christian Wood, and they gave Christian Wood the potential to start. They told him, if you sign here, we'll give you the opportunity to earn a starting role, which could be another factor to take into mind. Whether he starts at the 4 or starts at the 5, if he starts, well, then there goes Jarred Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup. The other thing is, too, I do believe that Anthony Davis will very likely start at the center position. I think he plays the first 5 minutes of the game at the center position, and then you have LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and then it's who is next to slot. Now, starting with Rui Hachimura, because again, he was the guy that many believe will start, or the guy that is reported to very likely start. Rui Hachimura, I think, gives you that scoring boost that would really help with starting a game, right? We saw the Lakers last season, even after the trades, really kind of start slow and stagnant on the offensive side, and then kind of have to play catch up going forward to win a lot of games, where Rui would kind of solve a lot of that. This is a guy that you can run your offense through, a guy that can just go get a bucket. You can put him on the low block. You can run some pick and pops. You can just give him the ball and let him go to work, right? We saw his ability to do that. And he was much improved in the playoffs. But here's the thing. He's been excellent in the playoffs for not only the Wizards, but the Lakers last year, and hasn't been able to translate that success into the regular season, right? Now, some of that, I think, is just him and his lack of, being a deep threat from 3, which he's improved and he's worked, right? He's been working like a madman all offseason. He's been working like a madman with Phil Handy. We saw what in little time Phil Handy was able to do with Rui Hachimura and kind of fix that hitch in his shot, kind of make him more just fluid with his shooting stroke. So I think if that translates, that'll be huge. Not expecting him to be, 60% or he was like 50% from 3 or whatever. I'm not expecting that, but I need him to can he at least be around league average, 35 to, maybe 36%, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that would really help, because you have D'Lo and Reeves and LeBron and AD, who are all going to be generating and creating shots and going to be creating for others and drawing the defensive attention. So Rui Hachimura is going to get a lot of opportunities on just like catch and shoot threes. And is he going to be able to knock those down? But here's the other thing. I don't want that to be his only role. If he starts and his role in the starting unit is just to be a corner spot up 3-point shooter, then there's no reason to start him. None. Because you might as well go with Jarred Vanderbilt. Because Jarred Vanderbilt is okay and comfortable in that role. He needs to work on his 3-point shot. We'll talk about Vanderbilt here shortly. But, he's okay being in that role and being in that spot. Rui is not. And that's not Rui's strengths. And that's not what makes Rui great. Rui is legit a guy that could go get you 20 on any given night. He can go get you 30 on any guy. We've seen him do it. Right? So this is a guy that can absolutely go get buckets. But if you're not going to run any offense through him, then what's the point? If he's just going to be a guy that is just tucked away in the corner, then you shouldn't start him. You should go with somebody else that's more comfortable with that. Even like a Torian Prince, who can just be a quality 3-and-D guy. The other questions and concerns is Rui Hachimura defending out on the perimeter. Because you probably want to keep LeBron James at the 4 at this stage of his career. You don't want him having to chase around the quicker, twitchier threes. Not saying that he can't do it, but you don't want to wear him down over an 82-game season or 60 games, whatever he plays, right? And Rui Hachimura has really struggled defending some of those quicker perimeter guys. He's great against the bigger guys and even guys bigger than him. We saw what he did against Karl Anthony Towns. We saw what he did against Jokic. This is a guy that can absolutely hold his own because he's got that good lower center of gravity. He's got some good strength and some good size. Problem is, he also slimmed down this year to be able to defend out on the perimeter. And that could be a great thing. That could also be a very bad thing because that could take away what made him it takes away his advantages. Right? Because he was so big, so burly, so strong, he was able to bump the defender to create the space to get the shot up. He was able to hold his own against bigger guys on the defensive side. Him slimming down, does that take away? Is he now not as strong to be able to create the space? Is he still able? Because the problem is not just also his size, but his lateral movement. Does that help with his lateral movement, or is he still kind of slow-footed? Because if he's slow-footed, then you basically just took away everything that makes Rui Hachimura that advantage player, right? Now, could it be to his benefit? Maybe he does have better lateral quickness, which he was working on this offseason. So he is able to stay in front of those twitchier guys. Maybe he didn't lose that strength, and he is able to get low and still defend some of those bigger guys. That would make him insanely versatile at that point. Maybe he is, because he slimmed down a little bit, maybe he is still able to create space, but maybe he's able to create space off the dribble more and also be able to bump the defender to create even more space. Like, there could be the pros and cons, and we won't know until we actually see him in action. But there are those questions. And I'm not saying you have to run your entire offense through Rui Hachimura, but you need to run some sets. You need to let him generate some offense and go get some buckets for you. Because again, if he's just going to be a guy that's standing there doing nothing the entire time he's in with the starting unit, there's no point. You might as well go with Jarred Vanderbilt. Now, diving into Jarred Vanderbilt, the biggest problem is he's our worst offensive player for going off of last season. Now, he, just like Rui, was working like an absolute madman, especially on that corner 3, because that's very likely the role he's going to play. He is an elite defensive player. He is arguably, if not the best on-ball defender in the entire league, and he's a guy that I think should start personally. This is just my thoughts. I think having Rui with the bench unit, I think gives Rui more freedom on the offensive side and allows him to kind of just be that bucket getter off the bench. Where Jarred Vanderbilt, he's more comfortable not having the ball. If he improves his 3-point shooting, I think that would be great. If he can just get to like 35% from 3, now he becomes a legit threat. And you have a legit defensive guy alongside Anthony Davis to be the number 1 defense like you were last year and can defend pretty much anybody in the league. I think that is valuable. The other big reason I want to see Jarred Vanderbilt start is because I think that the Lakers should keep the continuity of last season. You had a starting unit that went and led you to the Western Conference Finals, and why wouldn't you want to keep that intact? Continue to grow and build on that chemistry, continue to grow and build on that unit. I think that would be the best course of action. And then again, you have Rui as like that immediate, he's the first, him and Christian Wood are the first 2 big men off the bench out on the perimeter, or Christian Wood's backing up at the center position. And then you have Rui coming in at the 3 or the 4 or whatever, right? That's kind of the approach that I would go. That's just me personally. But again, I'm sure that there will be that conversation and that training camp spot to look at. But Jarred Vanderbilt, he's one of the guys that I'm kind of on the fence with on how big of a role he has. Because if his 3-point shooting doesn't improve that much, right, I don't know if he becomes anything more than just a specialist. because the Lakers have a guy like Taurean Prince who can shoot 38, 39% from three and provide maybe not the elite level defense, but still give you very good defense. And he's a guy that can just go get buckets. Even a guy like Cam Reddish, who is very good defensively and also can go create his own shot. He's not good at shooting the three ball, but you can give him the ball and he can just go get a bucket. He's actually really good in the mid-range. He's good at using his speed, quickness, and athleticism to get to the basket and just finish through contact. Where Vando, he's not really comfortable from what we saw last season. Again, we only have what we last saw him do to go off of. So that kind of becomes a bit of a question mark as far as like his production this season, where I could see him getting maybe like 10 to 15 minutes a game as like that specialist role where it's like, okay, we're not really worried about you offensively. If you have the open shot, take the open shot. But what we want to see from you is just for the 5-minute burst that you're in the game, your job is to do everything you can to shut that guy down. And he just locks in and exerts all of his energy just trying to defend whoever the superstar on the other team is on any given night. That's kind of what I lean towards Jarred Vanderbilt doing, which is fine, especially in the starting role, right? Because you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reeves, all very capable of getting off to a good start offensively, right? And especially if you run some better sets and, just the offense is flowing, it would make sense to give you that nice complementary balance with Jarred Vanderbilt because you have your two best shooters in D'Lo and Reeves. You have LeBron James, who's basically the do-everything guy, the superstar, and then you have Anthony Davis, who is your best defensive player and also a guy that can go get you 30 on any given night. Those two things are very valuable. And then also you have three guys that can make plays for others. And then Jarred Vanderbilt is your point of attack defender and your elite defensive guy out on the perimeter, right? I think that gives you a very good balance. Give you that for a 5-minute dose, right, to kind of establish a good lead. And then you swap Vando, you move AD to the 4, maybe you take LeBron out, let him get some rest, you take D'Lo out, whatever. You add your next unit in, right? Do the kind of hockey change, right? That's kind of my thoughts with that. But on the other note, if Jarred Vanderbilt can get to like 37, 38% from three, you might not be able to take him off the court. Because again, he is your best defensive guy. He's your best point of attack defender. He can literally defend pretty much anybody on the court. I mean, you don't want him guarding like a Jokic or an Embiid or anything like that. But if he got switched on him, you can trust that he can hold his own for a possession or whatever, right? He's your best defensive player, not named Anthony Davis. And if he's also shooting great from three-point percentage, then how do you take that guy off the basketball court, right? I mean, you're talking about, at that point, he'd be one of, if not the best 3-and-D guys in the entire league. Because the only thing he's missing is the three. And if he can get that three this year, watch out. And for those that are thinking, no way he shoots 38% from three, he doubled or more than doubled his three-point percentage from the previous year to last year. I don't expect him to do that this year because then he'd be shooting like 60% from three, which, I mean, hey, if he can, that's beautiful. But in reality, that's probably a little unrealistic. Maybe to start, we've seen guys do that for like stretches, but it's just unsustainable. So can he go up 6%, 6-7%, and now he's legit a real threat from three? You can't take that guy off the basketball court. At that point, he's probably playing 25 to 30 minutes a game. Because you got the best defensive player and you got a legit three-point threat. So, again, it's to me, it's going to be challenging. Both guys are definitely going to see the basketball court. I'm not worried about that. Both guys are going to have big impacts. Both guys are going to have those games that just absolutely stand out. You're going to have that game where Rui goes off for like 28 or 30 and just can't miss. You're going to have that game where Jarred Vanderbilt just looks like he's just a defensive juggernaut that's just completely changing the tides and course of games and completely shutting down guys. We saw that last year on numerous occasions, right? Like, you're going to have the big games and the big moments. To me, Rui is that like lethal weapon. Jarred Vanderbilt is like that X factor, right? I think that's kind of the way that I kind of look at it. But personally, for me, I think you got to start Jarred Vanderbilt. I just think that gives you the best balance as far as your starting unit goes. You keep that cohesiveness from last season, and that carries over. I think that personally, for me, is the best course of action. If Rui shows that he can guard, because again, he's going to be matched up against Jarred Vanderbilt, LeBron James, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince. He's going to be matched up against these guys in training camp. Right now, obviously, these guys aren't like Mikal Bridges and, Kevin Durant and stuff like that. But if he's doing a great job defensively on those guys, then I think you got to at least give Rui the nod and the opportunity to prove himself, right? Can he go guard a Michael Porter Jr. opening night and then guard a Kevin Durant and then go guard, Paul George, right? Is that something that he can do? But if he's struggling and is continuing, you got to get Jarred Vanderbilt in there immediately. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Who would you start? Who do you think should start? How do you think the minutes go with these two guys? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.